We know that lately there's been a lot of interest in the budding marijuana business. Look, I couldn't resist. Pot or weed or grass, to be honest, I'm too old to really get the terminology right these days, is now straight up legal in Colorado and Washington. Medical marijuana, which everyone sort of suspects of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge way to at least decriminalize the stuff, is legal in 20 states and the District of Columbia. This is a suddenly legitimate, rapidly growing business. And I recognize that many of you want to find ways to experiment with marijuana, with the marijuana stocks. Here's the problem, though. The vast majority of these names are penny stocks that are just insanely risky, and many could be completely bogus. So because I'm a conscientious investing coach, tonight Mad Money is going all reefer madness. I'm going to show you the responsible way to play the marijuana trade. Think of this as the High Times edition of Speculative Friday. Allow me to introduce you to GW Pharmaceuticals, GWPH, which I like to think of as the real medical marijuana stock. I've talked about this one on Squawk on the Street. See, the guys at GW Pharma understand very well that marijuana has real medicinal properties, but they think it's silly for your doctor to write you a prescription for a bunch of joints. This is a genuine drug company. It's taking the many ingredients in cannabis, scientific name for marijuana, and using them to create drugs for a broad range of diseases. Could their pills get you high? To quote the late, not-so-great Werner von Braun, that's not my department. GW Pharma is working on developing these drugs using a whole library of internally generated cannabis plants that have the right levels of the chemicals that we're looking for in a controlled and reproducible amounts. The thing is, in addition to THC, that's the active ingredient in getting stoned, there are more than 70 other chemicals in marijuana, some of which have been shown to have positive medical effects. And GW Pharma is testing a number of these to find drugs that work. Why not? Think of it. Many of our most common drugs are based on plants. Like Foxglove produces digitalis. So why is a marijuana pill, though, better than smoking the actual plant? Very simple. When you take a drug, any drug, you really want to take the same consistent dose every single day. If your dosage varies all over the place, then your medicine is not going to work like it should. The problem with traditional medical marijuana is that one batch of actual weed could be very difficult from another batch, which means anybody who's smoking the stuff for medicinal purposes is not getting the kind of consistent dosage they need or that the FDA would conceivably ever allow to be sold in this country. GW Pharma is developing products that will be manufactured using a standardized process with consistent batches. And most important, they're going through all the steps to get FDA approval. This will indeed be genuine medicine. And as much as marijuana has become a lot more socially acceptable in recent years, I know there's still plenty of people who would feel more comfortable just swallowing a pill rather than having to buy a bomb to take their medication. I mean, anybody who watched for a few dollars more when they were growing up is going to be a little leery of actually smoking the stuff. Right now, GW already has one drug, Sativex, approved in 25 countries outside the United States. This is a mouth spray that takes ingredients from cannabis and uses them to treat multiple sclerosis spasticity. Thanks to a terrific piece that my personal doctor, Jonathan Lapook, did earlier this week for the CBS Evening News, where he is also a TV doctor, we know that on Monday, the American Neurological Society confirmed medical marijuana works for these MS cramps, and you can watch that report on CBSNews.com, because I am telling you, this is real, and it is going to happen. Currently, Sativex is in phase 3 trials here in America for severe cancer pain, where it just got fast-track designation from the FDA earlier this week. See how quickly this is all occurring? And it's also about to enter phase 3 trials for MS spasticity. Between these two indications, this drug could do around $800 million in peak sales. And some analysts actually think this could be a multi-billion-dollar drug, although not all of that will go to GW because they've licensed much of the overseas and marketing rights to Bayer and Novartis. Meanwhile, GW Pharma is also developing a cannabis-based drug called Epidiolex to treat epilepsy. This is much further from hitting the market. A lot of people are talking about it, though. It's only expected to enter phase 2 clinical trials later this year. But so far, the results have been very compelling. With the drug reducing epileptic seizures in a dramatic and statistically significant way, you better believe that people who have this disease and their moms and dads are going to demand this thing. This could be a pretty big deal because the current crop of epilepsy drugs can have some real nasty side effects. And since Epidiolex is THC-free, it uses a different chemical called cannabidiol. Patients aren't going to be stoned out of their darn minds all day if they take it. GW is also testing Epidiolex for Dravet syndrome. That's a severe form of pediatric epilepsy that only afflicts about 5,000 people in the United States. The key here is that this is an ultra-rare condition, which means GW just might have an orphan drug on its hands. Remember, we love orphan drugs on Mad Money because they get all sorts of extra intellectual property protections, and the companies that can make them can charge prices that we might think are insanely expensive. In this case, we might be talking about $300,000 per year, but insurance companies have to pay up because patients literally have no other alternative. And it's possible this drug could also treat other severe epilepsy subtypes too, which is what my sources say. In the end, Epidiolex could do as much as $2.5 billion in worldwide peak sales. Wow. But remember, it'll be years before this drug actually has a chance of getting FDA approval. The key catalyst we're waiting right now is data from a group of trials in rare types of epilepsies, which should come out within the next few months. It's positive it will validate GW's entire platform. I'm waiting for these. Now, it's also possible that some of these cannabis ingredients could be effective in treating autism. Read that in TheStreet.com this week, which could be a gigantic opportunity if it pans out. One that could make GW a lot of money, but also help a huge number of people, far more importantly. Again, though, we don't even know whether this will work. It's just buzz. In its earlier stage pipeline, GW Pharma is expanding its efforts into cancer treatment, as well as myotonic dystrophy and ulcerative colitis. But the key word here is early stage. Here's the problem with GW Pharma, though. And this is, I've been waiting for it to come down. Finally came down. Stock has had a titanic run. It came public almost exactly 1 year ago at $8.90. Since then, the darn thing has been on fire, rallying up to 71 and change where it is right now. Some of that is from the current hype surrounding all things marijuana related. But a great deal of it is simply because this is a real drug company with some very exciting prospects. Morgan Stanley recently rolled out coverage with a $103 price tag. That's a legitimate firm, Morgan Stanley. That would represent a 44% gain from these levels. I'm with them. Longer term, they think it could be conservative. If Savitex and Epidiolex can get FDA approval, then GW is going much higher. And I think we'll get a status report when the company reports next Wednesday. Another reason why I wanted to do this now on Speculative Friday. Also, this is a bite-sized $1.2 billion British company that could be acquired by a U.S.-based company anxious to shift its tax regime. A mini version of Pfizer's wild $100 billion plus attempt to buy AstraZeneca, in part to get a better break on its corporate tax bill. Remember, regardless of what the states say, under federal law, it is a Class 1 felony for anyone to merchandise marijuana in this country. Doctors can't experiment on it. Nobody can do a thing here. So no pharmaceutical company is even able to test it in the United States. But since GW is based in Britain, it's getting a pass. Here's the bottom line. For those of you who are desperate to play the booming marijuana market, please forget the penny stocks. Speculate in a legitimate company like GW Pharmaceuticals, which has some terrific cannabis-based drug prospects, including one that's already being sold in 25 countries. Sure, we missed the bottom, but it's pulled back 15 points from the high, a high that could be surpassed by taking some GW Pharma. Can I go to Robin, please, in New York? Robin.